Hi everybody, welcome to 5 Minute Ministries. Last time I did a message that I titled A Forgotten Virtue, and I wanted to elaborate on that a little bit because the idea of abstinence, which is what the forgotten virtue is lost on many people today. They don't really understand it, even know what it is. But I wanted to give a biblical side of this, which I touched on last time, but I wanted to give more biblical reasons as to why we should abstain from having sex before marriage. And God has at least 3 scriptures. There are many, many more, but 3 really stand out and sum them up nicely. When God told us to not commit adultery, when He told us to flee fornication, and He told us to keep the marriage bed holy. Now, what He means by these things, the idea of adultery, which I covered in another lesson of my 10 Commandments lessons, the idea is do not have sex with someone who is not your spouse. Fleeing fornication is the idea is that you don't run around having sex with whomever and wherever you want. And the idea of keeping the marriage bed holy is the idea that sex is reserved for the marriage bed. That's what holiness means, to be completely separated from. Now, to keep the marriage bed holy, that's the idea of, that was God's idea of what sex should be and where it should be in marriage and only in marriage. It's a time for a man and a woman to truly express their physical intimacy with one another. And God designed sex to only be between those 2 people, a man and a woman. Husband and wife. That's God's design. And He did it for our benefit and our reason. And He has His reasons for it. If we, like I said last time, we look around, we see the results of all these people who are running around having sex wherever and with whomever they want. And we see what happens. We see broken homes. We see unwanted children. We see abortion. We see cheating spouses, cheating boyfriends and girlfriends, those who will refuse to remain faithful. And the attitude being, well, marriage is outdated, and I'll do a message on that too eventually. Marriage is outdated, we don't need it, we just have the relationship, and they go ahead and have the relationship, and they'd have all the benefits of marriage without getting married, without the hassle of what they deem, quote, a piece of paper or a contract. God views it much more than that. One of the first things He did when He created man and woman is He married them. He said, you shall leave your mother and father and cleave to your wife, and the 2 shall be one flesh. Now, while Adam and Eve did not have a mother and father, they only had God creating them. He established that rule for them and their children and their children's children and so forth. A man and his wife are to come together and establish a family. And when their children get old enough to get married, they get married, come together, and establish their family, and so on. That's the way things were supposed to work. But the world doesn't see it that way. The world does not care about the biblical view of what sex should be. They want it however they can get it. They said, fulfill your needs, fulfill your desires. But God says, I have a better way. If you wait until you're married, you fully give yourself to your spouse, then you will have a closer relationship, a closer bond, and the sex will be so much better. Now, people will say, oh, it's so great to sexual with several partners. Well, there's always lack there. The reason I say that, if they were fulfilled, they wouldn't have to go to several different people. They're never truly fulfilled. If you want your sexual desires fulfilled, the context of marriage is the way to do that, because you have a closeness. It's not just about the physical act, it's emotional. And if you're followers of Christ, it's spiritual. That was the design for sex, to get closer with each other. And especially in the context of Christianity, when you're closer with God, you get closer to each other. And everything comes together, and you are sexually fulfilled. Now, it doesn't mean you're not tempted. It doesn't mean you may not be, you may not be tempted to go to another side. It doesn't mean that you will never look at another person in a lustful way, because we're human, we're going to do that. But we are to fulfill each other's needs in marriage, because when that fails, the marriage will fail too. And if you're going through all this trouble before marriage, there's going to be suspicions during the marriage. God has all kinds of reasons, and again, I'm out of time to tell you all about them, and this will be my last one on the subject for a while. But abstinence works. Sex during marriage can be a wonderful, great, fulfilling thing if you are committed to your spouse. This has been 5 Minute Ministries, and I'll see you next time.